Hello everybody and welcome back to another fantasy football video. And another terrible week for me. I don't know quite what's going on, but I'm having a nightmare start to the season. I will say that I think this week there were some freak results. My high scoring player was also on my bench. I don't want to say freak results, shall we say some unexpected results happened. And sometimes that hurts you a little bit. So yeah, you can kind of see it on the team here. I don't want to dwell on it too long because it's depressing, but only Jimenez actually really did anything. Harry Kane, nothing. Rashford, missing a penalty. Yeah, cool. Am I officially bottom of the league? No, I'm not officially bottom of the league yet, but I'm getting close, so that's really good. At the top, I think we have a new leader at the top here, Detective Spooner being the team name. William Buchan, 58 points for the week. It's a decent score. Captain Salah, nice. I had Rashford. I mean, you know, what are you going to do? Who would have thought? But yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too much because it's depressing me. So we're going to go straight to the games. Yes, fine, I can accept cookies on this site. Jeez. That's the league table. Right, results. Let's start with the Friday night game. Aston Villa against Everton. This was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? So, yeah, I mean, Aston Villa have not been looking brilliant. Now, to be fair to them, they had Tottenham to begin with, which, well, it should be a tough game, but we'll come to them later. And then Bournemouth, which again, Bournemouth are a decent enough side. But Everton, everyone talks about Everton like they're this side are going to break into top six because of X, Y, and Z. I think I said like last week, or if not, like I just don't think Everton are good enough. People talked about them and West Ham. I don't feel like those teams are consistent enough. They drop points too many times to teams who are worse than them. And no offence to Aston Villa, but you're a worse team than Everton. If you go, position for position, that is just a fact. Player for player. But ultimately, football is a team game and the team has to play well, and Everton are not doing that. I've always said from the very beginning, you could go back to my videos, I think Marco Silva is an overrated manager. I think he had half a good season with Watford. I think he had a good start with Hull, but ultimately they did get relegated. And I think that if he was an English manager, I don't think he would have the Everton job right now. And I'm not saying that as some sort of xenophobic thing. I just think it's like fashionable to have this, well-spoken, foreign manager over Sam Allardyce. But there is, I think Everton won more under Sam Allardyce. I'll be completely honest with you. So yeah, I if you look at Everton, it's a very good side in there. A lot of kind of attacking prowess, great set pieces. The forward is always an area I feel they've been weak in recent seasons. Moise Kean, is obviously getting up to speed, and I think he'll be good once he does get going. But that doesn't solve the fact that they conceded 2 goals to Aston Villa. Wesley, I'm really happy he got the goal, or got a goal. He's going to take a little while to get used to the Premier League as well, but ultimately scoring a goal as a striker should not be underrated as what that can do for your confidence. If you go 5, 6, 7 games and you haven't scored a goal, that really hurts. Just ask Christian Benteke. So the fact that he scored in his 3rd game is, that's good. He can now push on from there. Really, there's a little less pressure on him, and he can probably, next game he can, just play his own game rather than, just trying to get something in no matter how he can. McGinn playing very well in midfield once more. Really good, and Aston Villa fully deserved it. Stats wise, obviously Everton had the possession, but 1 shot on target. You can't win games if you don't get shots on target. I mean, you know, these so-called, bigger sides are always going to have more possession than their opposition, and people always talk about possession and winning matches, but ultimately what you do with that possession is what counts. And clearly there's something wrong at Everton. Like, is it, a case of they're creating things but just can't finish them, and is that where Moise Kean comes in? I mean, when you look, they brought on Walcott, Iwobi and Kean. That's not bad, is it? Aston Villa, with no disrespect, have no one on their bench of anywhere near that quality. And all three of those players would probably walk into the Aston Villa, starting lineup. So it has a shocking result for Everton. It's a terrible result. Everton are 12th. They've lost one, they've drawn one, they've won one. I haven't been impressed by them at all this season. People are talking about which manager is going to go first. Is it going to be Javi Gracia at Watford? Could it be Roy Hodgson? Well, probably won't be Roy Hodgson now, will it? But, would it be Steve Bruce even? But listen, Marco Silva's my bet, because he's spent a lot of money in the last few seasons. He's brought in some quality players, but there's something wrong there. And I genuinely feel like if they had a good manager in there, then Everton would be pushing for the top 6. As it is, they'll be lucky if they make top 8. And that just isn't good enough, I think, for the money spent. I'd like to see a decent manager go in there and see what they can do. Who that would be, I don't know. I mean, it's a little disrespectful to kind of talk about replacements when the guy's still on their job, but he's got to, he's got to do better. Next time, Everton have got Wolves at home. I mean, that's a tough game. Wolves are solid at the minute. They're not spectacular in any way. I've had 3 draws, but they're solid. The Europa League, you could argue, has taken its toll a little bit, the same way it did with Burnley. Everton got to get a result there, I'm afraid. And if they don't get a win there, then that's going to really put the pressure on them. As for Aston Villa, I mean, 16th, if they finish 16th, they'll be delighted and over the moon. That's the type of game at home they have to try and get something. They're next up against Crystal Palace. They've got to try and get something there. Just getting little points here and there where they can and scraping through, hoping that there's 3 worse teams than them in the league. That's how Crystal Palace survived for the first few seasons, and in actual fact for the last few seasons as well. That is the secret to surviving in the Premier League. Just be the 4th worst side. People have talked about these promoted sides and some other sides as well who are kind of playing, the way they played in the Championship, and should they change, the way they play, because, in the Championship, Norwich are obviously used to outplaying opponents. Sheffield United are used to outplaying opponents, and when they're coming up against decent sides, even the likes of West Ham and Everton and Wolves and Southampton, are they just getting undone from that? It's this different mentality to be like, we're winning every week, we play our way, teams are scared of us, to we're having to defend for our lives here. I don't know. How many times have we seen a team come up, play the way they've played in the Championship, and survive in the Premier League? I'd say Wolves last season were a prime example of doing that. Bournemouth have been a great example of doing that. But time and time again, we've seen teams come up and do that and it not work out for them. Either, chopping a manager halfway through, or sometimes it works for the first season and then the second season disaster. Look at Huddersfield. Sometimes you can get enough points on the board early to scrape through, like Huddersfield. We saw Blackpool. Even Palace have been there and done that. We'll see. You can't. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they're doing that, by the way. You've got to admire that. Come up and you want to compete. You don't just want to be, trying to scrape a win here and there. You want to compete. And Aston Villa gave a good account of themselves, I think. if they keep doing that, they'll be okay. But I don't know if they can, to be honest with you. You know, their squad is thin. You look at that bench, and it's not really that great, is it? You know, a couple of injuries here or there could really see them struggle. I hope not. It would be good to see Aston Villa in the Premier League. They are a massive club. You know, that game against Wolves would be massive as well. Birmingham's a huge city, you know, in surrounding areas, and Villa Park is a great ground as well. So it would be good to see them in the Premier League. Next up, we have... okay, let's go work downwards on these then. So Norwich, Chelsea. Football has a way of making me look like a right idiot, doesn't it, really? You know, I spent 5 minutes last episode talking about how I don't think Timo Pukki, you know, can keep this up. And he goes and scores again. And assists as well. Clearly I'm an idiot. I think we know that by my points. And I know nothing about football, and you're more than welcome to just switch this video off right now. Unless you want to see me embarrass myself further. Yeah, he's doing well. Like, I'm not like upset he's doing well. I'm kind of glad he's doing well. They did lose, however. It wasn't particularly impressive by Chelsea. You know, they had a lot of shots. Yeah, they scraped the possession, but it was a bit kind of, you know, get away with it. Now, sometimes those results can change a season. You know, that first win, you know, Frank Lampard's needed it. You know, Chelsea now 13th. They've got Sheffield United next at home. You know, they're going to be looking to kind of push on from that. That could be, you know, the start of their season almost. They've got some real positives, I think. Mason Mount is looking absolutely superb. He's scored a fantastic goal. He's looking really top notch. Tammy Abraham scoring 2 really good finishes as well. You know, I said I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. I will point out he scored 2 really good finishes against a championship team. Let's see him do that. You know, I don't want to be that person who's like, oh, he doesn't do it against big teams like Lukaku or something like that. But let's see. You know, he scored 2 good goals. You know, he's no Timo Pukki, is he? Yeah. Bit harsh of Frank, take him off after 75 when he's on a hat-trick, isn't it? But, you know, I guess that's the way it is. Yeah, but again, defensive problems, big time, for Chelsea. Pulisic, he's been very on and off. I thought he looked really good in the Super Cup, but he hasn't looked great in the league. He's still finding his feet. It's his 3rd game, you know, in the Premier League. It's a different beast almost. Well, it is a completely different beast to the Bundesliga or anything he's used to internationally. So I've no doubt he's going to be great. I think he's a really talented player. I just wonder how long it's going to take him to get used to Premier League. Is it going to be the whole season? Can, you know, Chelsea afford to give him that season? I guess they can, in a way. I don't think anyone's expecting Chelsea. If Chelsea finish top 6, I think they'll be happy. I don't necessarily think everybody who's a fan of Chelsea will be happy. You know, I'm sure they would prefer to finish top 4, but I think if they finish top 6, you know, have a good run here or there, see some improvement, like that's good. We'll see kind of, you know, what they come from there. But clearly they have some very talented youngsters, and I like the fact that Mason Mount, you know, he's played him like every week. It takes some guts, you know. You're leaving a player like Willian on the bench, you know. He's yeah. It takes some guts to do that. So fair play to him. Can Norwich stay up? They've got a chance, haven't they? But you know, they've got West Ham next. You know, they've conceding goals left, right and centre. You know, conceded 8. That's the most in the league. I worry. But they've scored 6, which is decent enough as well in 3 games. But it's a very cavalier attitude. I can't see them staying up, if I'm completely honest. I said that at the beginning, and I think it's still the same. Sorry, someone's going by with a... I don't know what actually he's going by. Okay, sorry about this, everybody. Bit weird. Somebody's like driving some sort of steam engine past my house, by the sounds of it. We'll just kind of carry on a little bit, see if that stops. It is like 8:30. I mean, come on, guys. Okay, there you go. It's fine. Sorry about that, everyone. So yeah, it's. I think we've still got a long way to go with Chelsea, and it's going to be a very long season for Norwich. You know, maybe they'll be buoyed by a good display against Chelsea, but I can't see them staying up, honestly. So going back, Southampton 2-0. This surprised me. I had this on down as a Brighton win. Southampton haven't been very good. But when you have a player sent off after 30 minutes for just a bad tackle, not really malicious, but just generally bad, like that's going to hurt. And yeah, fair play. Southampton taking the opportunity. It can be hard sometimes when you're against 10 men. And they needed that win desperately. They really did. Man United next, that'll be interesting. Brighton, they've done well so far, but Man City next week, that's going to be tough. And yeah, that one I think they can write off as just, you know, it happened. Let's move on for the next one. Necessarily, I haven't got too much to say about that match. This match, however, I had plenty to say about. So those of you who don't know, and I say this every week, although I think most people know, I am a Crystal Palace fan. I am obviously delighted that Crystal Palace have won, especially away to Manchester United. We haven't done that in the Premier League, I don't think, before. Yeah, and we needed a win. You know, we drew and lost to Sheffield United, and everyone was on Roy Hodgson's back big time. The whole Zaha thing has been, you know, over our head sort of thing. But we did it. You know, we beat them. And yeah, I don't think Man United are that good. They've kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. You know, the 4-0 against Chelsea, you know, we spoke about at the time, it was almost a slightly freakish result. You know, the 1-1 with Wolves was a little bit more, you know, what you would expect. Defensively, they still have issues, clearly. I mean, if you saw Jordan Ayew's goal, I mean, it was a thump up the middle. Schlupp manages to outjump Lindelof, which, I mean, Jeffrey Schlupp is a left midfielder / left back. He shouldn't be outjumping Victor Lindelof, who's a centre back, and winning that ball. It goes through to Ayew because there's no one anywhere near him, and Ayew, to his credit, slots home very, very nicely. Jordan Ayew gets a lot of stick, mostly of Palace fans. It has to be said. It's not his fault. He has good talent. I just think he hasn't found the right place to show it, if that makes sense. I think he is a talented player, but he just doesn't quite show it on the pitch sometimes. That was a classy finish, you know, against a very good goalkeeper. And, you know, when you consider we paid, I think it was around 2.5 million for him, and he's probably not on huge wages either. That's paid back. That win alone has paid back that 2.5 million fee. I'm telling you that right now. That could be the difference, you know, for Crystal Palace staying in the league. It's massive. You know, when you consider, you know, we sold Aaron Wan-Bissaka, we brought Jordan Ayew, sold him for 50 million, brought him for 2.5 million, and we beat them 2-1. That is shocking to me. Now, obviously, you know, Man United dominated the possession, Palace sat back, but that's what Palace do. There's, you know, that's their way. They sit back, they counter-attack. That's what we're set up to do. You know, Wolf played the whole game. Good to see. And we have, I mean, if you look at that midfield, that is a battling midfield. Zaha obviously a bit further forward, but MacArthur, Coyote, Milivojevic, McCarthy coming on. That is like a tough tackling, hard midfield. Defence is not still quite there. Obviously, we're still missing Sacco and Tompkins, but Cahill played, and there's an argument to say Cahill could have been sent off. I think there was a player back, to be fair. But yeah, it's a great result. Pat, obviously, towards the end, Daniel James scored. Kind of happy for this guy. He scored a couple of goals. A lot of people were like, oh, he's not good enough to play for Man United's first team. He'll just sit on the bench all season, whatever. He's doing all right. And then I saw this and was like, oh, God, I was like 89th minute. We just couldn't hold out, But I was like, 1-1's a decent result. I would have taken that before the kickoff. And then Patrick Van Aanholt just, Zaha kind of breaking and the ball falling to Van Aanholt and him just smashing it in. I still rate him as one of the best left backs in the league. I genuinely do. In terms of attacking wise, he's not a Robertson, but he is decent, and I bet Man United wish they had him as Luke Shaw went off injured and they had to bring on Ashley Young, who was there was an interesting development on social media where Crystal Palace official account kind of showed Zaha putting Ashley Young on his butt twice, and then Andros Townsend kind of stepping in saying, have a bit of respect because, yes, he went on his butt twice, but he still managed to stop the cross going in. He's still, a heavily decorated footballer, which is a good point, but I feel like Ashley Young gets a lot of stick from Man United fans and everyone, like he's the sole problem in this squad when he's done nothing but be a professional footballer. If he's not good enough for Man United, that's not his fault. It's Man United's fault because they don't have anybody else to play. They could have brought someone. They didn't. So, yeah, all he can do is play for the club and give 100% on the pitch, which I think he does. I don't think anybody can argue that. If he's not good enough, that's for the manager or the club to turn around and say, you're not good enough. Otherwise, what's he going to do? Turn around and say, oh, I'm actually young, I'm going to retire now because I'm not, playing well enough in this league. Of course he's not going to do that. I'm sure he believes he's good enough as well. Also, he keeps playing left back, and the guy's a winger, for God's sake. That's, but it seems like he will have to get a few games because Luke Shaw got injured. And Luke Shaw gets injured a fair amount. And the fact that Man United had zero backup for him, really, just shows how poor they have been in their, recruitment. They're just not good enough. Yes, they missed a penalty. Rashford missed it. This whole thing about Man United and penalties, it's getting a little bit boring now. People miss penalties. I said that last time. Rashford then went and missed. It's not solely Paul Pogba, the only man on earth who's missing penalty. Rashford, to be fair, was a fraction away from going in. These minor fractions can make differences in games. But I also said this last week. Yes, that can make a difference in a game. They probably would have ended up winning, possibly, but they also were not good enough after that when they missed that penalty. So, on the flip side, they just haven't been good enough. They were so clinical in the Chelsea game and then so wasteful in, this game that, you have 22 shots, only 3 of them on target. We've seen this. You don't win football games like that. They're fifth. They can come back. I don't see Ole Gunnar getting sacked unless Man United don't make the top 4, which I think they will. I just have a feeling like they're going to scrape it like 4th. But just because they do have some real quality players, and I think they are, they've got some firepower front. They just need to be a bit more clinical. They need to. I don't feel like they know necessarily what their best side is yet, or where their players play in best positions, and all this kind of thing. there's the age-old question of, where do you play Pogba? Do you play him more advanced? Do you drop him back? People are getting on Jesse Lingard's back about stuff. I believe that they have a fantastic player in Juan Mata on the bench. Matic isn't getting a game. I don't think that Ole quite knows what his best side is yet, and he needs to work that out pretty quickly. Clearly, defence is an issue. Maguire's had some good games for Man United so far. This was not one of his best games. I generally question Lindelof whether he's good enough to play for at a top level, but who else they got? Luke Shaw, I think, is a really decent left back, but he's now injured, and Wan-Bissaka's great, but he can't do everything on his own. To be fair to Wan-Bissaka as well, he's a young lad, and last season he played alongside Tompkins, Sacco, and Van Aanholt, which a very experienced backline that will help. He's playing this season against with a new player like Harry Maguire, and some players who a player who probably is a little bit dodgy, and a different style. The team's expected to be more attacking, obviously, than when he was there, so it will take him a little bit of time to adapt, but he'll be good, I think. But Man United still have some rebuilding to do. I've always questioned whether Ole Gunnar is the man for the job. I don't think they should have given him the job until the end of the season. I think if they had waited till the end of the season, they wouldn't have given him the job. I think he got the job based upon the win over Paris Saint-Germain, and I think Man United are kind of paying for jumping on a hype train a little bit, because this guy was his experience was he's manager of Molde. Yes, he's a great ex-player, but what does that mean? Oh, the Man United way. I mean, the Man United way is, this is what makes me laugh. Okay, people are like, oh, the Man United way. Listen, if Guardiola comes in to Man United tomorrow, he plays his way. That's not the Man United way, but every Man United fan would love Pep Guardiola to come and take over that club tomorrow. Jurgen Klopp, same thing. Doesn't play the Man United way. Every single Man United player, fan would love Jurgen Klopp to rock up at Old Trafford tomorrow. The Man United way, is winning. That's the Man United way. That's what they're used to under Ferguson. There's no style. There's no particular style. There's no particular formation. There's no particular type of player. It's about winning. That's what Ferguson did all those years. He changed and he won. And it's a nonsense to say things like, oh, he knows like the Man United, he knows the DNA of the club. Utter nonsense. It genuinely is utter nonsense. I can kind of understand that with a team like Barcelona, because there is a particular style there. There is this particular way of playing that was built on from as early as like Johan Cruyff. I kind of understand that. But otherwise, what style would you say for many of the biggest teams in the world? Like Man City, you can turn around and say now have this style, but that is the Pep Guardiola style. When Pep Guardiola eventually leaves City, which will happen, who are they going to get in? Are they going to try? Are they going to? Because you can't turn around and say it's Man City style because it's Pep Guardiola's style. So if they bring somebody in who's like a disciple of Pep Guardiola, maybe Arteta, they're playing the Pep Guardiola style, not the Man City style. I hope you get what I'm saying now. I'm not just waffling for nothing. My basic point is Man United need to get in a manager who's experienced and who'll win. And they would get this team into top four. And I know they did that with Jose Mourinho. I kind of appreciate that. But Jose Mourinho did finish second with them. He didn't do a terrible job at Man United. He did win things with Man United. He did the double winner season, if you remember. Okay, it was 2 cups, which, Europa League, but he still won it. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see where Man United go on. They have Southampton next. If they don't win that game, pressure will be on. It's so funny to say pressure's on after 4 games, but I feel like this was one of those seasons where there was a lot of pressure going into the start of the season on certain managers. I feel anyway, there's a lot of pressure on Steve Bruce. I wouldn't have said there was pressure on Javi Gracia at Watford, but there is always pressure on a Watford manager because we've seen the owners will chop and change like there's no tomorrow. There's a lot of pressure on Hasenhüttl, in my opinion, at Southampton. There's a lot of pressure on Pellegrini, a lot of pressure on Frank Lampard, a lot of pressure on Silva. Eddie Howe's fine. Hodgson, everyone was saying there's a lot of pressure on Hodgson. He was like the favourite to get sacked. I think that was weird. I think, there's no pressure at Sheffield United. I think Brighton, again, as long as they stay up, they're going to stick as a building. Pochettino has a certain amount of pressure which he's kind of put on himself in a way, because we'll go into it later. And Ole Gunnar pressure. Emery, second season, having not really impressed too much, pressure there. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure on certain managers, and it wouldn't surprise me if within 2 games we see a sacking in the Premier League. It would not surprise me one bit, which is utterly ridiculous. But that's what football is nowadays. It's utterly ridiculous. Sheffield United, Leicester. A wonder goal from Harvey Barnes. Jamie Vardy giving it large to the crowd, loving every second of it. Good win for Leicester. I don't feel like they've been as impressive as they were back end of last season, but they're 4th currently with 2 draws and a win. They're unbeaten. They got Bournemouth up next. I think they're going to do well, Leicester, this season. They're one of the teams I rated after the end of last season. Sheffield United, that's a tough game, Leicester. I think they've done really well with their start. I don't think anybody really expected. I think they could have hoped for a draw there, but I don't think they'll be too disappointed with their start so far. Chelsea next, and we know Chelsea can be got at the back, so we'll see what comes from that. But I don't know about Sheffield United. I just have this feeling now they're going to be okay. I don't know why. Speaking of doing okay, though, Watford are not doing okay. 3 losses in a row. I think Javi Gracia has got to be favourite to get sacked first. A couple of goals for Haller, the summer signing for West Ham. A Mark Noble penalty, of course. Really, really good. They'll be delighted that Haller's got off the mark, as I kind of said about Wesley with Aston Villa, and also Joe Linton from Newcastle. Not leaving it too long to score is very important. Tammy Abraham as well. A lot of players this week got off the mark, and that can really help them be interested. Good result for West Ham, but Watford are really, really poor right now. Really poor. I don't know why. Is it just... I don't feel like they strengthened in the summer at all. Did they flatter to deceive last season? Were they better than what they were? I don't know. They're going to struggle though. I think they might, if they don't get a win against Newcastle, I genuinely think they might sack their manager. As crazy as that is. And now we're on to, I guess, the one of the biggest games of the weekend, Liverpool-Arsenal. Arsenal got pretty much tonked, didn't they, in this match? Let's be completely honest with you here. Arsenal got battered. Salah was phenomenal. David Luiz was comical. Arsenal went into this unbeaten. 2 wins. Two decent enough wins, although wins which a team wanting to get in the top 4 should be winning. But, and I think every Arsenal fan knew before going into this game that Liverpool are on a different level to them. And by the way, I don't think Liverpool get enough credit because of Man City. yeah, because of the way Man City play. But Liverpool were 1 point behind them last season and won the Champions League. Like, if Man City didn't exist, Liverpool would be hailed as the greatest side in the world. And it's weird, isn't it? Because they are so good and so relentless and have so many good players in every position with, backups galore. It's just crazy. I thought Nicolas Pepe looked okay. Actually making a start this time. You can kind of see what Arsenal were trying to do a bit, but they really didn't close down the fullbacks of Liverpool very well at all. Alexander-Arnold, I know, got an assist from a corner, but he did pretty much set up Salah's second with a long pass. But I mean, David Luiz, this is what we said about David Luiz, though, I think when he signed, was like, people were like, oh, it's a bargain to get him for like 8 million or whatever it was. He will get found out like that. That is why he plays in a 3 at the back. 3 central defenders. He needs a couple of people who can actually defend with him. 1-on-1, I would not rate David Luiz to stop anybody in the Premier League. The way Salah went past him was ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. The shirt pull, utterly ridiculous, for the penalty. I mean, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't show anything I didn't already know. I think Arsenal fans had that kind of rose-tinted glasses of like, oh, David Luiz, yeah, he sprays passes about, he's a decent defender, 8 million, oh, that's really good, that's improved because he's not Mustafi. Well, he kind of is Mustafi. He's Mustafi who can pass a bit. And in all honesty, I think you would have been better off with Gary Cahill. Who can't pass but can actually defend. Yeah. I think Arsenal might have enough going forward that they can scrape the top 4, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to do anything more than that because their defence is just still so shocking, isn't it? And Liverpool just being Liverpool, they didn't really strengthen in the summer at all, but they've just got such a good side that they're going to be right up there. 3 wins out of 3, 9 goals scored. They have conceded in every game. That is worth pointing out. And, it was a bad one to concede late on, but they were already 3-0 up. You could kind of see there's a little bit of, foot off the gas type thing there. So, yeah, really good win for Liverpool there, I think. And then we go to Sunday's fixtures. Wolves against Burnley. Late penalty from Wolves. 97th minute. That's pretty gutting. Not for me. At least he scored some points for me, Jimenez. I think Burnley have been really good. Ashley Barnes, there's this like cliche. Ashley Barnes is like the most underrated striker in the league. He's not underrated. He's exactly rated as how good he is, which is he's a decent striker. No doubt about it, So I find it weird when people keep calling him underrated, and there's the whole Chelsea link last season, which people laughed at, was really not that comical when you think about it. I think both sides will be relatively happy with that point. Burnley probably a bit more so. They've got Liverpool next. They're doing okay, I'd say. They're doing a lot better than they did last season, put it that way. Then we have the bizarrest of bizarres. Newcastle away to Tottenham after having a terrible start to the season and all the pressure on, losing to Norwich, losing to Arsenal, all the pressure on them, and beating Spurs 1-0. I mean, Spurs were atrocious though. 80% possession, 2 shots on target out of 17. I mean, holy moly, 80% possession. What is going on around here? Yeah, but Joe Linton. I know it's Joliton. Jodaton, I think, something like that. But Joe Linton just sounds much better. Almiron played well, I thought, as well. Did a lot of running, never stopped. They had to do that. And, I can't believe Spurs did not win this game. They looked very, very, very poor. Not playing Eriksen, people are having a go at Pochettino. There's clearly some problems going on. They haven't been playing for Tongan. He was on the bench this time. Eriksen not starting. I just feel like Eriksen's going to get... I don't know what's going on with Eriksen. Like, everyone was expecting him to leave, go to like Real Madrid or something like that, but Real Madrid haven't bid for him. Maybe they can't afford him, I don't know, but they probably can't, to be fair. Maybe if Neymar gets sold, maybe Paris Saint-Germain come in for him. There's rumours PSG are going to come in for Zaha. You don't know. It's annoying, I think, that... It must be annoying for Spurs that they, don't know what's going on. And I can kind of see that as a problem for them. And I understand why he's kind of not playing them, because I almost feel like he's thinking, well, if I'm not going to have him in a couple of weeks, what's the point of playing him now? I mean... The problem is with that is if you lose to Newcastle at home, then everyone's baying for your blood. But that team Newcastle put out there, Tottenham, is superior in every way to Newcastle's, with no disrespect to them. It just, for whatever reason, Tottenham didn't score. They were just poor on the day. They had a bad day at the office. They were lucky to draw with Man City, but they did draw, so fair enough. They were fairly lucky to beat Aston Villa. It took a lot of late. They've got Arsenal up next, which will be a really interesting game. Because if Spurs had won this as expected, 2-0, something like that, fairly comfortable, you'd be like, I'd fancy them to beat Arsenal. But now, I have no idea. No idea. Probably be a draw. Yeah. And... routine win for Man City, I guess. David Silva's 400th appearance for the club, gets 2 assists. I mean, the guy is just absolute quality, isn't he? Just superb. City will miss him when he eventually retires, but he's not going anywhere yet. I will say that Harry Wilson looks superb. The free kick was magnificent. Liverpool can just be rubbing their hands with glee at the fact that, at some point he's going to come back off loan and be a fantastic player for them by the looks of it. I'm surprised they let him go on loan. Honestly, I think he did enough in the Championship to warrant being on the subs bench at Liverpool, but maybe they were like, a year in the Premier League will, help us out a bit more. We'll see. But, pretty routine, I think, win for Man City there. They are pretty good. 10 goals in 3 games is not too shabby. Obviously the blip against Tottenham, not good, but I think we can see it's going to be a bit of a 2-horse race this season. Brighton next, you'd expect them to win that, same way you'd expect Liverpool to beat Burnley, but it's a tricky one away to Burnley, so we'll see on that one. If we go back here and come up to fixtures, we can see, so next weekend, Southampton, Man United. I don't know what I can see here, because I don't think Man United played very well, but I could see them beating Southampton. So I think that's a Man United win. If Solskjaer is a good manager, we'll know that, because his team will react and they will come out raring to go. But we'll see, obviously. Chelsea, Sheffield United. Tough one for Chelsea. Sheffield United have been alright, but I feel like Chelsea are going to have enough to win that. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa. Aston Villa win it all day long. It would be so typically Crystal Palace to beat Man United away and then lose at home to a promoted side. 100%. Put all your money on Aston Villa to win that game. Listen, I've been a Palace fan long enough. I know what's going to happen there. Okay. Leicester, Bournemouth. That's a tough game as well. I kind of think draw there. Man City, Brighton. Probably never bet against Man City to win a game. Same with Liverpool. Newcastle, Watford. That's a toughie. Watford, terrible form. Newcastle, morale boosting win, but when they actually have to attack at home, let's see what they can do. And then West Ham, Norwich, tough game for Norwich. Haller's scored a couple of goals now. Is he going to kick on? West Ham do have a habit of completely destroying strikers. And then Burnley Liverpool, you would expect Liverpool to win, but it's a tough fixture, to be fair. And then Everton Wolves. Everton really need a result there, don't they? Really need a result. They lose that game, that is a lot of pressure on Marco Silva. And then Arsenal Spurs, I've no idea how that's going to go. I'm going to think 2-2 draw there, like between them. I don't know. I've no idea, by the way, what my team's going to be going forward, because I'm doing so badly right now. I have no idea. And Dombele's out, so I'll have to replace him. If I look at midfielders, man, I want Sterling or Salah. Cantwell's doing very well for Norwich, but I don't know how long that's going to last. How much have I got? 6.7. We want midfielders, max cost, call it 7. And have a look. Mount, I guess, Chelsea against Sheffield United, but he's a little bit of a doubt. 75% chance. Do they rest him there? Aston Villa, do I go for McGinn? Maybe I go Harry Wilson. He looked pretty good. They're against Leicester. Maybe I go James. There's a lot of choices to be made. I'm going to leave that one for now. And see. But let me know. I'll take your advice on this one, guys, because frankly I'm doing so badly. You would literally think that any player I put in will automatically do badly. But there you go. Till next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.